It's a Tuesday edition here on Zero Block 30, and today we have 5 rounds of the magazine. Round number 1, a Texas man conned the Air Force into buying some body armor from China that apparently failed some ballistic tests. In my experience, you want your ballistic vest to actually stop ballistic rounds, so that's probably not great. Round number 2, Oooooooklahoma, where the National Guard won't get the vaccines. They're big mad. They're going to try to put their big old National Guard dicks on the line and see if the federal weenie can smash it or not. We're going to find that out. It's going to be a little court case. Cons, are you a glasses guy now? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
When did you become a glasses guy? You're
recently.
just going to... You're not even going to say anything, just going to start wearing glasses like nobody's going to notice?
Like you just started talking. You didn't even give me the chance. No, I just noticed my eyes have been hurting a lot recently, staring at screens all the time. So I'm trying out these blue light.
Oh God, I
guys.
cannot wait for the officer voice thing now with your glasses. It's so, I wish you would have got a monocle, even better. Round number 3 on this episode of the Great British Crashing Show. We've got 2 veterans plowing a tank into a cemetery during an inopportune time. Round number 4, we have an interview with Master Sgt Chris Copper and Sgt Maj Matt Parrish of the Active Duty Special Forces podcast, SOFCAST, and the Indigenous approach. Kate sat down with those fellows and talked to them in the office. It was a good time for all. And finally, round number 5, we're going to have a little bit of a Thanksgiving extravaganza. And all of that is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Black Rifle Coffee. If you haven't tried Black Rifle Coffee yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Every single Barstool podcast in the world has basically been telling you to go try it because it's good. You can get their buy one, give a bag program where they're giving out bags of coffee to different veteran organizations, law enforcement, first responders of all different types. They were started by their CEO and founder, Evan Heffer, who spent 7 years on the ground overseas with U.S. Special Forces and as a CIA contractor. Evan even modified his gun trucks during the invasion of Iraq to ground some coffee there. They import their high quality coffee beans from all over the world and roast them 5 days a week in their different facilities in Tennessee and Utah. And the Black Rifle Coffee team is popping up brick and mortar shops all over the joint, to include here in San Antonio, which I went to again the other day when I was in a little town called Bernie. I was doing a little thrifting. I've recently gotten into wanting to find things that I can flip. I haven't found anything in like the 10 different thrift shops that I've gone to or antique stores that was worth it, but I did have some Black Rifle coffee, which made the whole trip worth it. You should get some too by going to blackriflecoffee.com/0 to use the code 0 today to get the freshest coffee in America shipped right to you. It is in the middle of a little bit of Thanksgiving break. This is the best time of the year, I think. If you value your off time, from Thanksgiving to New Year's, the best, because there's so many. Yes, you could say that summer's great. It is. Summer's good.
Yeah, but it's not.
There's something special about this time of year.
Yeah, and summer's different when you're an adult. It's just you still have to do all the same stuff you have to do anyway. It's just hotter.
You just do it hot.
Yeah. I have to say too, have I mentioned my baby yet recently in any episodes?
Yes.
In summer, it's too hot and sunny to take them out. Now it's always overcast here. It's not too windy in the fall. It's a nice temperature. I'm actually able to like get outside with the kid, which is great too.
Yeah.
And I've been doing stuff with my fire pit, having that going. I'm excited about having a little, and I'm starting to do my toolie stuff again. I'm sending Nick actually the video that I did yesterday where I smoked a lamb's leg, and I'm talking about my shop. The lamb's leg was delicious.
It looked good.
It looked good for sure.
Phenomenal. Like, and I don't eat lamb nearly as much as I should, but I'm ready to go. Do you guys have a certain tradition where it's like, oh, here we go. Now Christmas really hits me whenever I either eat this or drink this.
Ooh,
you don't, Kate, because September is when you start Christmas.
Yeah, I'm done already. We already
What
did
is it for me? That first hot dog in July.
Yeah, I'm good.
Drink. Oh my goodness gracious. I guess when the pigs in the blanket become more abundant, it's the holiday time. That's certainly.
Oh, more pigs in a blanket.
More pigs
I'm not a big
in the blanket,
pig in the blanket guy because I'll just eat them till I get absolutely sick.
Ooh.
So,
yeah.
You know what? My aunt makes, normally I'm not a big pumpkin-y person. My aunt, every year she makes, because I have a huge family, she spends all day and makes like 50 pumpkin rolls, and she wraps them all up in foil and she goes around delivering them like Santa Claus. The dropping off of the pumpkin rolls in fall is like a big sign to me.
But
like,
do people eat more? I feel like pumpkin rolls is one of those desserts where if you don't get one of the first 3 slices of it, keep it.
What do you mean?
Because they get so sloppy looking. They start to break down. The integrity isn't there. And I feel half the charm of a dessert is the feeling of breaking that. Like when you get a perfect piece of pecan pie and you're the one that goes into it and has it, or a perfect piece of pumpkin pie and you're the one that does it, the pumpkin roll kind of breaks down. The integrity breaks down faster than other desserts. Right. So that's one that you got to get in there right from the jump. And I would say that brownies are that way too.
Yes.
Like once you start getting to the end of the brownie pan, you might as well just
mess.
dump some ice cream on there.
Yeah,
right. It's a mess. Can I say pecan pie? Everybody's going to say, no, not me. Well, top diarrhea dessert of Thanksgiving season.
No, that's fair because the amount of sugar.
Yep. You hit your 5th bite. You're sitting at the table. You get the goosebumps. You're like, oh my God, I knew it.
And pecan pie is just absolute sugar. Like
my favorite.
It's delicious. There's a reason why it's so good. It's because it's just essentially sugar. But it's one of those desserts where you look at it and you think, this might be a little bit healthy, right? Like it's just a bunch of
nuts. Yeah.
No, dude. No. There's certain things that when you find out what actually is inside it blows your mind. Like the number one for me, I remember when I found out how many calories the chicken quesadilla explosion salad from Chili's had in Okinawa. And I was like, how the fuck is this possible? It's over 2,000 calories for a salad.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Most salads are really unhealthy. Yeah, it's very confusing.
And you would not think that. You could get a steak mashed potato meal for less calories than you can get the salad.
Yeah, but you know what? Thanksgiving, Christmas, if you're counting calories, don't even come to my house.
Yeah.
I don't need you. I don't need you bringing us down like that.
Number one, before we'll have more Thanksgiving talk in round 5. But your number one overall dessert, if you go in and they don't have it at Thanksgiving, you're furious.
It's apple pie for me.
Oh, apple pie is such a lame. Oh, Cons.
Okay. Cons is very much an apple pie guy.
He's
an apple pie guy.
America.
He really is.
Even though it's Dutch, but
doesn't matter. We usurped it from the Dutch.
It's a very officer dessert, I would have to say.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Kate's coming in being a little argumentative today.
Kate usually isn't the one tripping me about being an officer. Yeah.
I just hate apple pie that much.
Okay.
Only apple dessert I've ever liked was this apple turnover I had when I was in Al Asad Air Base. It was lovely. It was absolutely delightful. Let's get into. We'll get more.
I got 2 quick stories from the weekend because they bear mentioning. So first of all, we're pulling on to West Point for the game on Saturday, and West Point, obviously, as everyone knows, is a military installation, so they do random checks. So we got called by the MPs to get pulled over and do the random check, and everybody gets out of the car. And my mom was holding at her feet this big pot of hot chocolate because we didn't want to put it in the back in case it would spill. So everyone's out of the car and my mom and dad are kind of like not bickering, but going back and forth. I'm like, who's going to hold the pot? And my dad looks at the MP, the sergeant who is inspecting the car, and he goes, this is just married life. And my dad goes to the E5. So you married? And I swear to God, deadpan, the guy goes, yeah, actually just finishing up the paperwork for my divorce as we speak. So there's
Classic.
that. It's like, sorry for bringing that up.
I thought the joke was going to be the MP hearing your parents arguing about who's going to hold the pot.
Yeah.
As they go through a very tricky situation.
That's true. And then obviously, as we all saw, I met and spoke with a one.
Couldn't even wait till fucking save rounds.
No, had to leave.
Absolutely. I texted Kate after that. You said it. I was like, there's no one in the world who loves famous people more than Cons. Like it just absolutely obsessed.
No. Bill Murray.
Bill Murray's in a different stratosphere.
No, but it doesn't matter who it is. It comes in Vanna White. You'd be like, guys, fucking Vanna White.
I'm the same way.
I'm not like that with a lot of people. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I disagree.
You are big. The moment we interview somebody with a little fame, you're like, yeah, pass over your number. Maybe when you're in New York, we'll get drinks. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, listen, I'm just a networker. That's all that is. I'm trying to figure it out how to get him on the show.
Kate, don't you dare go on his side. We talk shit about Cons all the time behind his back for being a famous person.
No.
I didn't need to know that.
Nope, that's not true.
Famous person. Kate's integrity violator, an extra shift to fire watch, not only for her, but also for Cash. Let's get going with round number 1.
Kate, say it. Go ahead, Kate.
I once chased Ron Weasley down the stairs through the revolving doors and almost tried to grab on.
But you also avoided Kombucha Girl like the plague because you were nervous.
I was nervous. But I get the same way. I'm just too nervous. I just fuck it up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the only time I've been that I think I would be starstruck at Barstool. One was Shaq. I saw Shaq walking down the street in New York, but Shaq is just so huge that it's jarring. Like it takes you off a little bit. And then Deion Sanders. Deion just makes me nervous. I don't even want to meet him.
For me,
I think I'd act like
gritty.
a little boy.
I think Mr. Murray appreciated, though. I mentioned the movie that he's filming, right? Oh, awesome. That's what I called him. That's why I said, hello, Mr. Murray. I didn't want to, I'm just trying to be, Bill. I didn't want to call him Bill. We're not best pals. Now we are, but I didn't want to open with that. I wanted to be respectful. The guy's a legend, but I mentioned the movie. Of my life, honestly, I know. Right now. I mentioned the movie he's filming in Jersey right now about the greatest. And
nobody will watch it. Nobody's watched a single movie that he's been in the last 20 years.
They're going to watch this one.
What's the last movie that you've seen that he's been in that's good?
All of them.
Hold on. He did a movie on Apple TV with
oh, it's so good you can't remember it. Must have been awesome.
So bulletproof vest, huh?
Yeah, let's go into some bulletproof vest scooping. We're round number 1. A
On
Texas
the Rocks.
Guy.
That's the movie.
What
On
is
the Rocks. On the Rocks with it was a Sofia Coppola. It was a Sofia Coppola movie. It was Bill Murray and what's her face?
Oh yeah, it's got
Rashida
a 17% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Very good.
These people don't know.
He's starring in a movie
round number 1. What do we got, Kate?
He's starring in a movie with Konsoon called Kick Rocks.
Yes.
Anyway, first question: did you guys ever order something off the internet that came totally different than what you thought it was going to be?
Yes, I actually told Kyle about it a few weeks ago. Our old producer Kyle. There was this, and I knew there was a good shot that it was going to be a scam because my wife orders clothes. You guys know what Shein is? Like that.
Yes.
They're always on TikTok. Like women with big old titties on TikTok will be posting their bathing suits and shit. And then they get like 1 million followers and get money for it for months because they're in the TikTok creator fund, just because they're trying on bathing suits. It's phenomenal. What a country. So we have these ones, the Shein one. There is an offshoot site for men of Shein before Shein started having it. And they had, you know what the Red Wing boots are?
Yes.
Like I have a pair.
They're great boots. They're not as good as Rocky boots,
Rocky
but
boots.
this was before we had a Rocky
Rocky
boots deal.
Right.
But I went and bought some because they were like, oh, it's $17 because they come straight from China and there's no middleman. I ordered it. I had to wait like 6 weeks. And when it came, I swear to God, it was like a fake Burberry scarf. Is what I got in the mail from
this
it.
Is why you do Rocky boots instead,
yeah,
friends.
That's why you do it. Yeah. $16 for a fake Burberry scarf that I'll never use.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens all the time with those clothing sites. You go order stuff and then I see women showing off like what I ordered, what I actually got. Totally.
I don't know how to trust websites anymore. Really. Right. Like if you're buying stuff, like the one John does it, Feidelberg does it from Instagram all the time. He buys.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the Instagram ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really anywhere. Like if it's not from like Walmart or Best Buy or Target or Amazon or one of the big retailers, I'm kind of hesitant. I might be an old when it comes to that. There's going to be a time where I'm like, I'm not giving any of these newfangled sites my fucking credit card information.
Yeah. You know what, chaps, actually, as you mentioned that, what food and drinks makes me think of the holidays. You know what makes me think of the holidays is going and shopping in person. I prefer shopping in person.
Oh, yeah, you do love that. Yeah.
Than the online. Give me a Starbucks
too.
At the Short Hills Mall and let me roam. I'm happy.
It depends on how many people are there.
Yeah. I guess that does affect it.
Because
I love the decorations.
There's so many stores that I'll go into. And there'll be something I want to buy. Like I remember being in TJ Maxx a few weeks ago, and they had all these different socks that were just right in my wheelhouse, just hilarious socks that I wanted to buy, some with like soup cans on them and stuff. And then I look up at the line and there's like 15 people already waiting. I'm not waiting 15 people in line for some socks. Yeah, it's got to be less than 2 or 3 people in line for me to buy something.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. What happened in Texas?
Okay. People didn't get quite what they paid for is the theme here. So this is from Task and Purpose. A Texas man is facing up to 20 years in prison after admitting he sold Air Force body armor. He sold body armor like to the Air Force that had failed ballistic tests as part of his effort to defraud the U.S. government. Tanner Jackson, who ran the defense contracting company Top Body Armor LLC USA, it sounds so legit.
It does.
And the related entity Bulletproof Armor LLC from June 2017. This is like the @NotACop Twitter handle. Like nothing to see here.
In their defense, it would have been a bigger claim if there would have been a tack in between, like a hash. If it was bulletproof armor, now it's 3 separate things because they don't connect them together as the modifier to modify that now.
Sure thing. Anyways, he's running these two companies from June 2017 to December 2020. He has pled guilty to selling Chinese-made body armor and helmets to government agencies that he falsely claimed had been manufactured in Texas. Jackson is expected to be sentenced on February 22nd. In a statement of facts filed with the court, Jackson acknowledged his illegal schemes involving lying to the Air Force about body armor that could have gotten airmen killed. In one instance, in connection with an Air Force contract, after his body armor failed testing, Jackson created his own ballistics laboratory on paper, Texas Ballistics Laboratory, LLC, to fabricate.
That sounds legit.
Yeah, to fabricate bogus ballistic test results to present to a government client in connection with the sale of body armor. The street address Jackson provided on Texas Ballistics Laboratory test results did not exist. He also created a website for them to make it appear legitimate. Justice Department officials are not aware of any reports of airmen being injured or killed as a result of the defective body armor. The court document did not specify how many sets of shoddy body armor Jackson had sold to the Air Force. But thank God they actually tested. That's really good to know. Like,
well,
really,
sometimes,
really good to
and
know.
they didn't. Like, do you remember when the first ESAPI plates came out and they said that they had all these different capabilities, that they could take multiple rounds to the same spot because that was a thing that was happening? Like, because I mean, I'm sure most of the listeners listening know, but if you haven't been around in combat operations, a lot of times if you get shot once, you're going to get shot multiple times because that's just the way people pull the trigger. These old ESAPI plates completely eroded whenever they were shot once. They're supposed to have an integrity where they can be shot 3 or 4 or 5 times in order to maintain the integrity of what's going on. There was a huge fight in around 2007 between the DoD and like outside businesses. One was the company called Dragon Skin, and Dragon Skin, they could take you could take an M4, an M16 and put in a full magazine, 30 rounds, and shoot through it, and it maintains its integrity. There was special operators that I served with that bought those at like $2,000 a pop for their own money because they believed in them so much, and went out and would actually fire into some extra ones that they had to show the team members like, these are actually better than the things that we had. That being said, if you got caught wearing dragon skin, you would get court-martialed for it because you were outside of your PPE, even though it was technically better PPE because it wasn't. And they also told us, and this probably wasn't accurate, they told us that if you were killed while wearing dragon skin, that your family would not get your SGLI money.
I don't know that that's inaccurate. I could see how that could get tied up for the reason that you just mentioned. If you're going to court-martial someone for not wearing the proper PPE, then they very well might tie up some litigation just so they can prevent.
But it wouldn't stick. It was the same thing as like that old command, that old staff officer shit where it's like, oh, if you die without wearing a helmet and your bike, then your parents don't get the SGLI. Oh, if you aren't wearing a seatbelt, then you don't get it. It's just a scare tactic, which is very effective.
We need a barracks lawyer. Call if you're a barracks lawyer, hit
exactly
us up.
Right.
So the Air Force paid this company roughly $176,000 for those 3 contracts. One of the contracts amount was just $0. The other was for $12,000. It got canceled, and nobody knows what other contracts that this person had out there. He was awarding contracts to various National Guard units as well. Eastern District of Virginia, blah, blah, blah.
So he did all kinds of shit, basically.
Yeah, he basically, yeah.
I want to see what the judge says. This seems like a prime opportunity for a judge just to lay into somebody. I
mean, this guy obviously didn't give a fuck if people died or not. So genuinely fuck this guy. It doesn't seem like maybe you're like, it's not that big, nothing happened. That's a big deal. Like, fuck this guy. That sucks. But also too, this is one of those cases to me where all the work that he went to start hiding it and burying it, like creating the fake website, the fake address, the fake this, the fake that, like, man, just find a link with legit ballistic shit. Like, why don't you just
make a real company?
Do regular shit, man. I don't know.
The things that you're doing, can you not do those?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you maybe not? I don't know, but interesting story there. Jackson's attorney could not be reached for contact. So who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But also, just like you, when you look at the numbers, it just doesn't seem like it's worth all this trouble.
Not that much money.
Not like millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, and that's cheap. Like that's how the Air Force probably figured it out.
Right.
I mean, this guy's got to up those numbers. Those are rookie $176,000.
Yeah, bump those numbers up.
$176,000. That ain't shit. That's a fucking roast beef sandwich in the Army.
True. you know what? I'm thinking now he might have decided to himself, all right, I'll keep it low so it won't flag anyone's radar.
He went
but
with the Fight Club method of just having a little bit of fraction of a penny.
Right. But then it went the opposite direction. And because it was so low, they're like, wait, we would never spend that little amount of money and be that frugal. We would always just overspend. What's going on?
Probably how I should have known about those Red Wing shoes. $17 for Red Wing shoes.
No, that's
never going to happen. Those are like $200 boots. Fucking ridiculous. That's what else is normally expensive, but it's not now, is BetterHelp. If you want to get some therapy, make sure that you use BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/0 for 10% off. If you're a Gold Star family member, you can go to betterhelp.com/goldstar. The holiday season, in all seriousness, the holiday season is very, very rough for a lot of folks and their mental health. If you need that help, don't wait till it gets really bad and it feels super overwhelming. If you're feeling just a little bit down, a little bit depressed, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody with BetterHelp. They're going to help you out. They've helped me out. They've helped Kate out, Cons out. My wife uses them too. Tons of folks. I've had several Gold Star family members reached out and say that they got going with their therapy and it's going great. And the Gold Star the BetterHelp has been fantastic. So make sure that you're telling the Gold Star family members that you know about the service as well, because we are proud to partner with BetterHelp in this endeavor. And if you need to talk to someone, go to betterhelp.com/0. Make sure that you do that today, because you're going to get a deal, which is 10% off. It's a fantastic program doing fantastic things. And they can see you usually within 48 hours, which is practically unheard of in the mental health world. It should be very normal, but it's not. So BetterHelp is stepping in the gap to make it a little bit more normal, which is great. All right, let's move on to round number 2. This time we're going to go out to old Oklahoma. Oklahoma, they are like, we're not part of the federal government. We're not going to listen to you.
Not us. Yeah. Army, I know we're so tired of this topic, but this is just pretty interesting to me. I feel like it's kind of a big deal in the mill world right now. Army Brigadier General Thomas Mancino, the Oklahoma National Guard's newly installed Adjutant General, recently issued a memo at the behest of Republican Governor Kevin Stitt that exempts Oklahoma national troops from the Defense Department's COVID-19 vaccination mandate. Stitt has framed the issue around personal freedoms, arguing in a November 1st letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin that the vaccine requirement forces Oklahoma National Guardsmen to potentially sacrifice their personal beliefs in order not to lose their jobs. It is worth noting that Stitt has not raised objections to any other of these 17 vaccinations that service members are required to get, like anthrax, chickenpox, polio, rabies, typhoid, measles, mumps, and rubella. The government also wrote that up to 800 Oklahoma National Guardsmen, or 10% of the entire force, have indicated they will refuse to get vaccinated for COVID-19. It is irresponsible for the federal government to place mandatory vaccine obligations on Oklahoma National Guardsmen, which could potentially limit the number of individuals that I can call upon during a state of emergency, Stitt wrote. But Eugene Fidel, who teaches military law at NYU Law School, describes Stitt's comments about protecting personal freedoms as a dog whistle that is meant to appeal to former President Trump supporters. The provocation here is from the state, he said. The federal government hasn't provoked anybody. This is a health and welfare measure that everybody knows makes sense, and that people are resisting this for no good reason. This is politics by other means. So basically, it's just a
I don't
shit
necessarily think that it's fair to say that this is because President Trump has gone out in different rallies and said that he believes people should get vaccinated. Has he been as vocal as he probably should? Maybe not, but he has said that. So I don't think that he has been anti-vax at all. There has been things that he did in the coronavirus situation that definitely wasn't ideal, but I think that that's a little unfair to paint it as, and if I am defending President Trump, that it's not something that I do often, but I think that's a little unfair. I do think it's primarily GOP, and that those are like statistics, 80% of those that are unvaccinated fall within the GOP. So that's pretty accurate.
It's wild to me. The misinformation and the poor leadership going on there is just blowing my mind. And again, it's the troops that are getting let down because they're not going to be mission ready if COVID is a problem. That's for sure.
How does the government not realize that? Like, it's a lot harder to fight with COVID than it is, without COVID.
Yeah, if you can't breathe, it could be difficult. But I don't know. It just seems like at this point, and we've said this, or at least I know I've said this, like, you know what? People make your own decisions at this point. If you don't want to get it, I don't really care about you. I know that's a little bit of a harsh thing to say, and I apologize. But the other thing I think is we've reached a point where people are just so dug in with their heels that they're just being obstinate out of principle, not because they necessarily agree one way or the other now. Now they're just like, well, this is my bed. I'm going to lie in it.
Right.
And I just think that's just so silly, especially when it comes to, your health. And it's just the point of the article that really stood out to me, Kate, that you mentioned, when they list all of the other vaccinations that people willingly get and have gotten for many years without objection,
without knowing the science behind them, without just blindly accepting them just fine. And then
it's like, you want to tell me all about like, I want to do your own research. Well, tell me all the research you've done about anthrax, chickenpox, polio. Tell me about all that research you've done, but you willingly got those shots.
Yeah. And the National Guard too. I feel for them because they're constantly mobilized. There's so much going on right now. They're driving school buses in Philly and Boston. Apparently they're stretched thin. They're also like, I've been getting DMs, the mental health from the overwork and all this stuff. Like it's a lot going on with them right now. So sending good vibes to the National Guard, especially in Oklahoma. You guys could figure it out. I believe in you. Godspeed. By the way, of all the branches, the Marine Corps is the worst in terms of compliance right now. Around 10,000 still haven't gotten it yet, even though they're about 94%, I think, vaccinated. Still a good amount who don't have it.
What would you attribute that to?
That's the first thing that they've been allowed to kind of opt out of.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you give Marines a choice to do something or not to do something, they're going to always opt to not do it.
Yeah.
I would have said it maybe had something to do that they have the best barracks lawyers of all the branches.
I mean, that could be it too. That could be it too, for sure. I don't know.
Barracks scientists
and they're
and
probably
too.
planning on getting out. Like if you, because of how much of the Marine Corps is comprised of lower enlisted, if you know that it's not going to really drastically affect your job prospects and it's not going to affect your GI Bill, and you're a Lance Corporal and it's a Thursday and you're supposed to be doing field day and you're getting yelled at because your room's not clean enough, and all you have to do is not take a shot and you're going to be out of the military in 6 months instead of another 2.5 years, buddy, sign me the fuck up. And then the moment I get out, I'm going to CVS and getting the vaccine.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I wonder if there's any cases of that.
Oh, there has to be. Because think about it. I remember when I was probably a corporal and I had this Lance Corporal who was a lot like me, just cocky as fuck and pretty well-spoken guy. And he was like, I hate this. Like that. I'm 24 years old. I should have never enlisted. I'm older than all these kids that are doing this. I don't want to do this shit. And I was like, well, you got another 5 years or like 4 years on your contract at this point. You have to do it. And he was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to eat myself out. Like, because they can't give you bad paperwork.
Boy, I wish I could do that.
Just that he was like, in a year,
You know
instead
what
of
I mean?
4 years, I just eat as much Burger King as I possibly can. I eat Burger King and curry all the time. And then I just get fat and they'll admin set me. And then I get all my benefits and everything. And I lose the weight and I go back on with my normal life. And he was like, and I'd probably get money from the VA for being obese. Like,
wait, really?
I mean, if you could tie it to service connected, sure.
Yeah, but how are you going to tie that? Let's take a second here and tell me how you're going to tie obesity to
mental health. That you are so stressed that you developed an unhealthy eating habit, and it led to all kinds of issues. And your weight affected your back, it affected your knees, it affected all kinds of other things.
Interesting.
We need this is a very barracks lawyer episode. I'm interested to know.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to know, so like, what happens if the Oklahoma National Guard, what happens if they are like straight up, we don't give a fuck, we refuse? Like, what happens next? I'm curious to know.
The National Guard?
Yeah.
I mean, you could federalize the National Guard.
What happens if
they could just say, okay, well, now the Oklahoma National Guard isn't the Oklahoma National Guard. Now it's federalized. Like you could draft the Guard essentially.
So then they'd have to get rid of the 800 that refuse to get it. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And then they're not real. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
When it comes to military stuff, the federal government always has the power.
Yeah. Who knew?
And I'm just saying that, I'm just making it up, but I'm pretty sure it's right. Usually my instinct on that is pretty right. So
Yeah.
I think that's what they could do.
I have no idea, but I'm going with this is right.
Yeah. That was a board
believe-
answer for all of you that are listening. Confidence, that you just say it forthrightly and confidently, and next thing you know, people are going to believe you.
I believed you.
They do. And you should. You really should.
Okay.
You should also believe me when it comes to Nomad Goods, because they have the best chargers in the game. I have one right here. You can see it right here. I have it right there where I keep my cell phone whenever I'm doing all kinds of podcasts. If you want to get that for a good little Christmas gift, smart, knock it out of the park with a Kickstarter project that started in 2012 with the goal of building ultra rugged minimalist tools for the 21st century nomad based in Santa Barbara, California. Nomad makes the best mobile accessories that not only look good, but are there when you need them the most. They use a tannery from Harween Tannery in Chicago that smells amazing, and it's climate neutral certified brand. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They send you all kinds of stuff whenever you get their things. I have the case, I have their chargers, and a lot of time these iPhone chargers, the lightning cords, they get all frayed. This one is thick and it's braided. It's absolutely lovely. I highly recommend it. Go with that. Go check out Nomad at nomadgoods.com/0 to see what living in the nomad life is all about. That's nomadgoods.com/0. Kate did an interview. Here it is. Nope, as you were. Round number 3. We're doing a little
I didn't want to say anything, but
tank goofing. There's a story that's coming up from the observation post by Claire Barrett. Oh, Claire Barrett.
Corinne and Barrett.
That's exactly right. And she says, what was meant to be a somber day of reflection and remembrance in Cheshire. Is it Chester, England? Yeah, Chester, England.
Cheshire.
Is it Cheshire?
Yep, like the cat.
See, I thought it was a Chester cat.
Oh, you could say Cheshire. Worcestershire, Cheshire.
Cheshire cat.
You just jumble all those letters together in your
Cheshire,
mouth
England, and it was shattered literally when a British couple of veterans and a handbrake spawned a meadow's worth of oopsie daisies. What are we doing? Is this like fucking Notting Hill?
Adorable. And it was a couple of British veterans, not a British couple who are veterans.
Oh, when a couple British veterans. Oh, okay, yeah. 2 former soldiers were at the center of a November 11th gaffe when forgetting to deploy the brakes of an armed reconnaissance vehicle during the village's moment of silence in observance of Remembrance Day. Onlookers quickly transitioned from a state of surprise to shock when a vehicle careened out of control and crashed into the village's memorial gate and garden. Residents had been told there was a surprise, and we had all been guessing what it would be all week. Nobody had any idea it'd be a tank. That's not what they actually said. Couldn't have.
Basically, though, the former soldiers are the town councilor and the former mayor. And these 2 guys, both veterans, paid over $1,000 to rent this, basically a tank sort of thing. And they were so excited. And they're telling the town all week, they're like, guys, the day of remembrance, I guess the town has a little parade.
There's going to be motorcycles.
Big surprise for you guys. Really excited. So when they went to have their moment of silence, they forgot to put the handbrake on and they started rolling down the hill and they hit the gate of the cemetery.
That shit happens to the best of us. Even in my Tundra, when I shifted from my F-250, if you barely touched the brake, the whole truck was stopping no matter what. My Tundra, I have to have a pretty good pressure on it, or otherwise when I'm waiting at Starbucks or something like that, I almost start creeping up. It's a creeper truck. I got to be careful.
I just love that these guys, like the town, then Cheshire Live was like, this was very inappropriate, but I just love that these 2 old vet buddies were like, let's rent a fucking tank, dude. Let's rent a tank and bring it to I don't know. I just really quick dumb story.
That's relatively inexpensive, I would think, to rent a tank too. $1,200.
$1,000.
Yeah, it's kind of nothing really. Why if you're renting a full-blown tank.
Oh no, he's got glasses and $1,000 ain't shit. You got that celebrity money from Bill, I guess. Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray. Thank you, Mr. Murray.
Excuse me. All right, let's get into the interview that Kate did. Here it is.
Now on Zero Block 30, I am joined by Master Sergeant Chris Copper of the Indigenous Approach, the podcast for the 1st Special Forces Command, and Sgt Maj Matt Parrish. He is a Green Beret, and he runs the SOFCAST, official podcast of the U.S. Special Forces Command. First off, I hope you guys aren't too intimidated being in the presence of a Marine. I hope you're feeling all right.
Well, you're not going to scuff us up, are you?
No, I'm going to try not to. I'll try my best not to. But Sergeant Maj Parrish, Green Beret, Iraq, Afghanistan, Central and South America. Master Sergeant Chris Copper, I assume very similar. You've been all over the place.
I didn't get to go to South America. Did a little bit of time in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
But Iraq, Afghanistan, we probably had the same chewed dirt. I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, our timeline is about the same, to be honest with you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you both do podcasts. I was really surprised to see this, that there's a lot of veteran podcasts out there, Zero Block 30 being the best one, of course. But I hadn't seen any active duty. Yeah. And I feel like because a lot of time the military is very guarded and very careful about this sort of thing. So I was really surprised to see not one but two podcasts, and from the Special Forces community. How did this all come about? Like, why are they doing it?
Yeah, I think for us, ours is for all of Special Operations Command, right? So not just Special Forces, but all four. Special Operations Command is kind of the parent unit, the 4-star command for all Special Operations, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. We had a big comprehensive review that was sort of looking at like, all right, there's been a lot of these newsworthy sort of bad apples that had been kind of happening over the last 5 or 6 years, and there was this big comprehensive review. They basically went all across the command, like, hey, what can we do about this, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the recommendations was, hey, we need to do a better job of like talking back to our force, relaying lessons learned, all those things, right? And so we sort of spun that into like, hey, one of the streams that we're not doing because we're so closed off mm-hmm. and because we're quiet professionals is that we don't really show the exemplary, like who should represent us, like mm-hmm. what stories should we be highlighting. And we really didn't have any kind of a podcast stream. So I got approached to be part of it and now run it. And so we just actually today is a year anniversary for our podcast. We got about
happy anniversary.
31 episodes out and drop another one tomorrow. So we release every 2 weeks. And we're just trying to show kind of what SOF is now, mm-hmm. what it has been in the past, some of our legends, and then what it can or should be in the future.
Yeah.
And just telling stories, talking to people.
And my mind is blown that instead of just going, well, why don't we fix this problem with a PowerPoint? You guys looked outside of PowerPoint to fix something. No, the military
Well, there was a PowerPoint that we had to do to sell the fact that we needed a podcast. Right. But yeah, absolutely.
And how about with yours?
So with mine, actually, I'm not the sole person on ours. Ours is a little bit different because I think ours has been going on about a year. And so there's actually it goes with the changeover of personnel, and then at the same time, there's over different topics and other hosts that get on and talk or mm-hmm. Give seminars or speak on their expertise. To my understanding, this was an initiative that came in with our former CG. I'm with about under a year at First SFC, but I'm working as the senior listed advisor for our human performance and wellness mm-hmm.
As
I'm on my way to retirement. And I had the opportunity to sit through one of the recordings with the CG and the CSM, as well as our command surgeon and command psych and our command JAG. Mm-hmm. And I thought that initiative, that was an awesome initiative that they were looking to do, just really touch down and speak to the guys at the operational level and across the force, flatten comms. But one of the I don't know if I want to say gaps or just the improves I saw was the relevancy, for lack of better terms, mm-hmm. because, nobody I know has even served with, the CG or some of those guys, CSM, more so the CG and that higher officer echelon, they don't know them.
Right.
And, I thought maybe we could use our subordinate leadership and get those guys on and start talking about some of those issues that really touch the team level.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever service you're in, there's always that, guns, booze, money, drugs, women,
mm-hmm.
team dynamics. There's just those issues that you're going to have to deal with as a leader at the lowest level. And, when you're in those shoes, you don't really realize you're not the only one dealing with
right.
it. Generations before you have dealt with it. I just thought it was a good opportunity to just kind of peel the onion back, cut the BS and just get straight to the point and start having those real conversations.
Right.
As we're dealing with high suicide rates,
mm-hmm.
Behavioral health issues, and even transition as this GWAT's closing down, and guys that came in because of 9/11 are now getting out, and that's what they've known.
Mm-hmm.
They're the GWAT soldier, and that's the thing. There's cause and effect from transition. So that's ultimately how I got involved doing podcasts. Was just I gave Major Lassard the idea, and thinking that they would run with it, and I somehow ended up behind a microphone.
You got a great voice for it too.
Yeah, well,
that might be
you.
part of it. That might be part of it. And it was Connor who, I guess he had heard a specific episode that really resonated with him, and he said, "We got to have these guys on the show." Can you speak a little bit on that?
So we actually have a mutual friend. He's out of the military, but he was a platoon leader of mine back in Ranger Battalion back in the day. Chad Jenkins, awesome guy. You know, one of those guys, one of those leaders that you would follow into hell wearing gasoline-soaked underwear. And we're mutual friends with Connor.
Okay.
Or vice versa, whatever. Bottom line, that's what he saw. And it involved Master Sergeant Josh Thompson, another good friend of mine. We served as team sergeants together. We served in Afghanistan a couple years ago. We both suffered some losses with our team during that trip. He lost I believe 4 or 5 of his guys and attachments. You know, I lost a guy, and we found ourselves basically coming back home together through this transition center in Germany. I'd known Josh for years, always looked up to Josh. He was the guy in the, he was my SOTA instructor. I would go for him for instruction when he was my fellow team sergeant.
Right.
You know, senior to me, I would go to him for just mentorship. So long, short, he moves up and out and is, moving on with his life and career afterwards. And as I said, he was a stable guy, great family, great work ethic. And I run into him a year later, and I can't believe the trials and tribulations that he has gone through. He's telling me about this. He was, not to put all his business out there, but he had just, gone through the gambit with alcohol, divorce, and, he was holding it together, and he realized what it was, and he wrote this down, which got published in Havoc Journal, The Mask We Wear, talking about the different masks that he puts on at work, takes off at home, on church on Sunday, and just really opened himself up. And it really got good reviews amongst our community. A lot of people resonated with it. And so this was when we were, coming up with this idea. And so he was the first guy, called him and was like, "Hey man, please come on. I want to do this," and kind of laid it out for him. Like anyone, a bit apprehensive, but it really went well. We got on there and just pretended like we were in a team room and just got to it. And, our CSM, he did push it out. And I was getting emails from E6 to 06 I never even met on my work account, just thanking us for that. And, if you could help one guy, as Josh says, it's worth it. And, we got a lot of good support from it, a lot of good remarks. And the idea also, and I'll zip it up, but the fringes, that's who we were trying to reach. Those guys, and you know them from the Marine Corps, that are just as likely to end up on this, commander's blotter for trouble. Those guys aren't the ones listening to, the guidance from higher.
Right.
And I know those guys. Those are my people. I know them, and I'm getting feedback from them like, "That was solid, man. You hit the nail on the head." And that was my metric that maybe we might be on to something. Yeah,
and something that they can listen to privately if they want to, or something like, the guys are over at the armory cleaning their weapons. Let me put this on while they're doing that. It's something that, like you said, I feel like, especially, maybe I'm wrong, but in Special Forces, you do sort of wear a mask. Like, I know I look at you guys a certain way, like, wow, they've got it together. They're so, like they're the ideal, but really, same problems as everybody else, same struggles as everybody else.
In fact, sometimes
probably more
magnified.
So.
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
Absolutely.
What we see, Chris and I both work in kind of our human performance. We call it preservation of the force and family as far as from SOCOM, but really each one of the different elements kind of calls it something different. For USASOC, it's HPW, human performance and wellness. And what we see oftentimes over this last 20 years of war, from being sort of the force of choice, being really employed quite a bit in special operations, a lot of our folks are assessed and selected to have a high level of competency and ability to take care of things on their own, right? So a lot of times they will do a great job of doing anything they can to make it happen up until the time they can no longer do it on their own. So they'll hide it, they'll do whatever, cope however they have to do to make sure they're making the mission, until all of a sudden they can't. And then it becomes, it's almost too late. The explosion has already happened, right? And so part of our sort of culture change, one of the reasons we're doing our podcast, is to really try to get folks to realize, like, the profession of arms, it matters that you are going to have to take care of yourself more than just physically.
Right.
Like, physical training we're used to in every corner of the military. Hey, we're going to do PT. You're either going to do it with your unit, do it on your own, whatever. What we're trying to get to is like, hey, in the same way you're proactively and preemptively working on your body, you've got to work on your spirit, your family, your social connectedness, your psyche, and make sure that you're not waiting for something to blow up before you avail yourself of these resources.
I think that's great too, because I think special forces is the tip of the spear in not just battle, but I think in the culture of the military so oftentimes too, because truly the rest of the military does look up to, like, those are the I mean, I probably sound like a dork, but like to me, those are the badasses, and what they say goes. Like, I saw a recent episode of the SOFCAST where you were talking about, you know, women are starting to enter special forces, and it was so refreshing to hear, like, coming from you guys saying, well, mentor, be allies, like, instead of rejecting
we got one for
it.
you tomorrow. You're gonna love this one. We're actually releasing one tomorrow with 2 females, specifically all about women in SOF. And listening to that, you know, sort of our thing with it is like, hey, now that it's all open, we want the best and the brightest. And when we talk inclusion, we're talking from a really exclusive organization. So those things are like oil and water if you think about it, but it's not.
Right.
It's really just about saying like, hey, this is open. You're going to get a fair shake at it. And we want the best and the brightest, no matter what they look like, no matter where they come from. We want the best and the brightest. If you can attain our standard, it's open, and you're not going to get discriminated against, right? And so we actually are releasing. It's funny you bring that up. We're releasing one tomorrow.
Checking it out tomorrow.
That is all about that. Yeah.
But I think, like, so the attitudes and that coming from you guys, I think means a lot more than coming from some admin release somewhere, whatever. I think hearing it from a special forces command, like, I think that means something. And I think the same exact thing goes for mental health.
Sure.
I think if you guys are saying it's not weak to seek help, it's not weak to be having these problems and being unable to hold it together right now, like, that doesn't make you any less than. I think coming from you guys, it means more a lot of times, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to try to lead the way in every way possible, right? Like, not necessarily individually. We don't hold ourselves up individually as like, oh, everyone should follow exactly what I do. That's not what we're saying. But, you know, we're blessed to have more opportunity to lead the way in a lot of cases, even with like equipment. You know, a lot of the equipment that gets used by us then filters down to, you know, once we kind of work the bugs out, well, then it's like, all right, hey, they don't have to R&D those things. Like, all right, hey, we already know that SOF is using this. All right, hey, the big Army, Navy, whatever can take it. In the same way for sort of this human performance program, like a lot of this is being replicated by holistic health and fitness in the Army. You know, the Marine Corps is looking at how do they do it. Air Force has what they call True North. So it's all those same kind of programs that are saying like, hey, this is working. How can we make it available for the broader military? And I'll say, Kate, as far as like mental health, like I've seen a psych 100%. You know, that's why I reached out to Chris after I listened to their episode. You know, to me, you're not a unicorn. Like you are going to be affected by this career if you choose to make it your profession. And so for us, operational availability, like he and I were both team sergeants, you know, in charge of 12-man ODAs, right?
Right.
If you're a team sergeant, you want operational availability, right? You want your guys, and now in the future gals as well, to be able to go on a mission and do what you need them to do. And it doesn't matter if they're not available because of a blown out knee, a blown out back, a blown out marriage, or, you know, from the possibility of blowing their brains out, right? And so if they're not available, it's all the same, right? And we only have really cared about the physical for a long time, and we haven't really looked at how do we proactively take care of all the other, you know, soul, mind, strength, you know, spirit. And so that's what we're really trying to do as far as like messaging that across the force.
Yeah. And there's a couple points that come to mind from even a couple of the podcasts I listened from y'all where, you know, you were talking about, I think it was the situation with the Ranger that got indicted overseas or the hit, whatever.
Right.
But, you know, that ties in with culture. And so, you know, what he was just alluding to and getting on about, you know, being operational ready, you know, for the majority of our guys are doing amazing things and doing great stuff and transitioning well. But then, you know, as our generation has gone through, you know, 2 decades of conflict, you know, rinse, repeat, and just doing it and staying fixated, you know, with Corona coming in, that's an added thing that's now giving guys the opportunity to take a step back and look in the mirror and see what they're looking at.
Right.
And, you know, we focus very heavily on physical fitness, you know, combat readiness. So we've got some physically fit, combat proficient technically proficient people that kind of don't really know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
And, talking about being operational ready, when you're starting to spend, when you're starting to have some issues, whatever they may be, you may start to go down that road of handling them not that productively.
Right.
And we never really start off. I mean, we start off working our way through this, qualification course or this selection course. But at some point, we fall into a culture of a team.
Mm-hmm.
And if the guys ain't taking care of themselves, then that culture starts to shift where things, the line between black and white, that gray area starts to drift more darker color.
Right. And
then that creates a problem because we all, unless you're just a sociopathic psycho, which very, very, very few of us really are,
mm-hmm.
It starts to weigh heavy on your conscience.
Yeah.
And then that snowball starts to go down that hill. And you start to see now at that 40 years old, late 30s, 40s, at the end of your career, now that you've had time to look yourself in the mirror, some things start going off the rails. And I think what I'm really trying to get after, what we're both in a cooperative effort, our line of effort that we haven't even cooperated on is just leaving the place better than when we found it.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, I'm trying to all the stuff that's talking about tomorrow's policy regulations. At the end of the day, really, I'm not worried about that because you know what? I won't be there for it.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to do is leave my foxhole better and take care of the folks in it, even the ones I don't like.
Right. Yeah.
So they can handle it because I want them to succeed. Because I'm better than when I started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thing on what you were getting at with operational ready also leads into culture, and that's I really think something that we're really trying to look at to fix issues before they happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are some of the the up tempo, again, like you guys are saying, the tempo of deployments and everything, and now having that slowed down and having the time to look around and be like, oh my God, wow. And also too, like, what are some other, you said change the culture a little bit. What are some things that you think need to be worked on?
Well, I think any branch you go to, and you go back to the Marine Corps, I mean, you had issues. There was people in your unit that got hemmed up for DUIs, drugs, and everything in between.
Right.
No matter where you go, that can happen. Why it happens, I mean, a multitude of things. But, I was reading an article. There was a police officer just arrested somewhere in the country, 27-year veteran robbing a store. It turns out he had a bad opioid habit from an injury he obtained,
on the force.
Exactly. Yeah. That can happen. And, if we're not having those checks and balances along the way, that can spin out of control and create a problem down the road. So, I think culture, and we were talking about this yesterday, accountability. I know talking, I talk to that low level, that's my people. And, they want to say, trust, trust is eroded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get the opportunity working up at the command. I see what our leadership is doing. And frankly, this isn't a, kiss ass, mark moment to put out there, but our command, at our level and down, they're taking care of the folks. They really do care.
They do care.
They do care,
sure.
But it's just the connection. I mean, when, you've not been at that level for 10, 15 years, it's things change.
Right.
Things are changing from when I was on the team. And so, for guys to get that trust, or for that trust to be there, the command team, you got to trust up, but they've got to be able to trust down. So there is some give and take. So changing that culture, I guess, is on both ends, kind of almost forgive it and forget and moving on now. We've changing the chapter, and, guys taking a step back and looking at what is right, what is wrong, command, labeling that out for the guys, even though, we've seen it once, they've seen it once, but my perception of what's tolerable versus that guy's may be different.
Right.
So, I guess putting on your big boy pants, gaining some trust on both sides, choosing that hard right over the easy wrong, but kind of defining what that is, peeling back and just getting more to that personal mentorship level. I think that's one area of culture change.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, Kate, that comprehensive review that I talked about earlier, which was really across all of special operations, it was basically a year where they went all across the world, talking to different people, doing focus groups from all different levels of ranks and all different demographics and everything else. And it illuminated a few things. I mean, some of which we knew. It did not illuminate that there was like a widespread ethical issue, but there was a propensity to be more worried about mission accomplishment, right? Because if you're the force of choice and you are continuing to just get overused, right? There's some things that forged in battle, we realize like, okay, hey, in combat, maybe I take this shortcut to make sure whatever. Well, now as we get back to basics, like we always say, especially in special forces, like what makes a good special operator is not some like magic. It's not doing backflips out of helicopters or anything. It's really being really, really good at the basics, right? And so
I would argue it's the backflips out of helicopters. I'm sorry,
you gotta have the basics before you can do the backflips out of the helicopters, right? But really getting back to, we talked about op tempo, right? Force employment was one of the main things. We realized that, all of these different, kind of decisions that had been made over the last 10 to 20 years of combat had really created a force where a lot of times the leaders were getting pulled to go do something else. And so what we're trying to rebalance is really a couple things. One, we've backed the op tempo down to get to at least 1 to 2 across all of our units, and now they're trying to get to 1 to 3. So for every 1 day deployed, you're home 3. But it is to 1 to 2 everywhere, which is not what it was in the early 2000s, right? It was for a lot of us, it was less than 1 to 1, right? I did 4 deployments back to back to back to back, right? And in between each one of them was at an advanced school, whether it was sniper school or our CQB school or et cetera, right? And so we realized that really what we got to do is get back to president engaged leadership, right? Leadership matters, having people there that are able to, put their experience into practice during the training cycles and not be pulled over to some 05 or 06 pop-up command that needed to happen to have like another layer of command over in the Middle East, which is what was happening a lot, right? And so that's one of our primary climate or culture changes. But really, for Chris and I and sort of the human performance rule, it's really moving towards how do we proactively work on wellness and performance across, we look at it for 5 domains. We look at physical, psychological, cognitive, social, and family, and spiritual, right? And all 5 of those come together to create your overall human performance. So every day you're either feeding that fuel gauge or it's going empty, right? And so really doing that cross check of your instruments and making sure that you're working on all 5 of those proactively and not wait until one of them's just dumped, and then you're like, oh man, I guess I should worry about my family, or I guess I should find a psych. Where's a psych at, right? Which is kind of the culture we had
that's
before,
the Kate
right?
way of doing things. I like to wait
well, that's
till
what
the
a
last
lot of
minute.
us did, right? That was my case,
I'll have
right?
one
That was
tooth when I decide to go to
us.
the dentist finally. So,
Exactly.
I'm actually red on med pros for the
So,
dentist right now.
and the other culture change, obviously, we talk about suicide, right? Like we believe that all of those work cooperatively to try to combat suicide, right? Both the leadership angle of it and also sort of the human performance side. All 5 of those sort of domains play into someone ultimately either making that decision or not making it, right? And so being present and engaged and having people engaged in people's lives is critical, because we're all trying to stop someone from ending up in the spot where they believe that there's no hope.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something that we've been kind of working on, at least throughout the groups. I know saw it heavily in 3rd group, and I'm even seeing it at the command right now with our psychs. But I had the opportunity to get more, involved and get a deeper dive on the personality testing that we do a few years back, and that was something. It was almost like the the 550 cord spool when the side comes off and it just becomes a big knot. I felt like that was one of the ways I think that we really could help open that up, because it really helped me to have a better understanding of who Chris Copper was. What my quirks were, what my strengths were, and be able to see that guy in the mirror, for myself, because we all see something different. I see you completely differently, or completely different than the way you see yourself in the mirror. And throughout my time in my career coming up, I took plenty of tests. I sat there with my buddies and G2'd, do you check whether I like flowers or not like flowers? But I never got the feedback. And when I actually finally did sit down with our psych and get the feedback, I realized a large issue is guys not knowing thyself. Because, you know, one thing that we forget to mention is we joined anywhere from 18 to any on. You know, I joined at 23.
Pretty much your whole adult life.
But what about before that? Because, you know, there's a lot of shit that goes on in someone's life before they even come into the military. And we have, I mean, I don't have all the statistics, but there's a lot of things that, you know, have happened prior to coming in that just get locked and repressed and, you know, gets put up there in that mind. You know, that's one aspect. And then just the know thyself, you know, and I mentioned earlier, we have some really physically fit dudes, you know, combat proficient, technically savvy, that don't know themselves. And, you know, I say this, Lisa, but, you know, are some of the biggest, you know, chicken shits out there. And then what I mean by that is scared to have a real conversation. I know guys, you know, I was talking with our CSM.
Yeah, a lot of times it's fear.
Because he gave a great analogy. You know, he's like, I know guys that would, if they were faced with either running up a 30-meter alleyway with a PKM at the end of it, or having an honest conversation with just a peer, much less a subordinate, they'd rather go up the alleyway with the PKM. Right. You know, they'd rather go behind the closed doors and bitch about it and be unhappy. That affects morale. You know, when you don't know who you are, you start getting insecure. You know, and it just compiles, you know, with expectation of, you know, performance and job, and, if you're not hitting it, and then you know, start throwing in TBIs, and that's when you do get into some of those problems with suicide or, you know, conduct unbecoming, where you find yourself now in big trouble because you let the wheels fall off, and it all pulls back to just being comfortable in your own skin. And that's something we've been working on. I know when you talk about culture and just some of the change that I think is probably one of the cooler things we're doing. And I think it's just a key to success.
You're one of the first people I've heard too bring up, because a lot of times, a lot of issues that troops have in the military, if you really look deep at it, it's from stuff before the military. Sure. I feel like everyone equates so much of when there's trouble, it's because of something that happened in the military. Combat. A lot of times it has nothing to do with that. Right. A very small portion of the military actually experiences the kind of combat. Yeah. And so I think that's a really smart thing to do.
No one comes in as a blank slate, right?
Right.
Like we treat it as if they do, but that's not the case. Like even if you come in as early as you possibly can at 18, you still had 18 years of whatever raising from whatever. And we all know from serving, you know, the military is one of the greatest melting pots, you know, anywhere, right? Because you
met the most
show up,
wacky, wonderful people of my life.
And from all over the place, though, right? Like you never end up. Even, you know, people say like, oh yeah, there's a certain kind of archetype, you know, to like special forces, right? There's like predominantly certain, you know, kind of outdoorsy guys for the most part that kind of are drawn to that, right? But even within our formation, there's a huge cross section of people from everywhere. Absolutely. You know, from urban cities to out in Alaska to, you know, I had guys that were going through with me through our qualification course that had masters and PhDs, all the way to guys who had GEDs, right? And so, you know, we do, to your point, kind of discount the fact that, like, hey, there's a lot going on before that guy or gal enters the formation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, like helping them know themselves is a huge part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard because it's substance, it's feelings, and what man wants to talk about feelings and stuff? Yeah. That's not the normal conversation that's happened in the team room.
It's the new thing. It's that, but finally, I feel so glad that it's finally getting addressed, and that because it does matter. And I feel like it only makes you stronger, and it only makes you more tight knit, and it only makes things better.
I think a cool part of it that, you know, kind of to Chris's point, was you're talking about this, all these different personality tests and all these different things. What I've kind of had for the last couple of years, as we've talked through a few of them, is really realizing, I got a great brief from the JSOC psych. He does like a psychology of the operator type of thing for our onboarding course. And it's really realizing that like everybody's primary weaknesses are actually just strengths that are either overused or a crutch, right? So as you know yourself, you realize that like, hey, what makes me really awesome can also be my biggest downfall if I overuse whatever it is. Like whatever it is to some of our folks, they're incredibly adaptable, right? That's one of the things we assess and select for. It's one of the things you get picked up for special forces for, because you're hugely adaptable. Well, that's great until, as I mentioned earlier, you're adapting to everything and trying to do and fix everything on your own.
Your life's falling apart, but you know how to MacGyver it back together with an old
with duct tape and whatever else. Exactly.
Right.
Until suddenly it blows apart and it's irreparable. And so that adaptability actually, because it's tweaked to 11, can actually be a weakness, can be a hindrance. So at least knowing that and realizing midstream, like, hey, all right, I'm kind of finding a way to tape this together.
Yeah.
I might need to get some outside help and at least have somebody, again, like I said, I can't say enough, as far as to your point earlier of kind of being open about it. Hey, I value going in and talking to a site.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I do a podcast, half my podcasts I feel like are
yeah.
talking about some of this stuff, but
right.
really getting in there and like proactively just being like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not in crisis. I just want to talk out some things, and they kind of help you reframe and kind of have a mindset shift. Yeah,
that's awesome. Again, people finding out that they're not alone.
Yeah,
and that's the podcast is an amazing way to do that for both of you. That's awesome. The Indigenous approach and SOFCAST.
Yeah,
I'm getting that right.
Mm-hmm.
Getting those right. So check out.
First Special Forces Command Indigenous approach, and then for U.S. SOCOM, it's SOFCAST.
But anybody can listen to them.
Yep.
Anybody, no matter what.
Apple.
Yeah, we had a very specific conversation with ours when we were getting ready to launch it. We had 2 courses of action. We were going to do one potentially that was just going to be on the secret network and only available to our force. And it was actually, I was a big advocate the other way to make it completely available. There's some things that we can't get into a complete depth of conversation, obviously, because we know if you can listen to it, the adversary can listen to it, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many other people that can be reached, either potential recruits or just, we have everything kind of to Chris's point earlier as he's talking about getting feedback. I've had everything from mortar team leaders and Ranger battalions to senators that write me and say, hey, I'm listening to this, right? So everything from
That's
or
awesome.
higher all the way down to people that are, ROTC kids or Mom and Pop America. And so it's an awesome opportunity to just kind of peek behind the curtain a little
That's
bit.
a metric to success, too,
Right.
by the way, because if you have a Ranger leader listening to an SF guy, that's a metric
kind
to
of a big
success.
deal.
Don't put that guy's name out there,
Yeah.
because he'll
Whoa.
be done.
I'm also lucky that my co-host on our podcast is the senior enlisted for U.S. Special Operations Command, right? So the senior enlisted to the 4-star is my co-host, right? And so people get to hear directly from him. One of the kind of segments we do is every 5th or 6th episode, we do what's called shots from the field, where he and I and a guest don't know what the questions are, because that a lot of senior officers aren't used to that,
Brave.
right? No pre-read. I actually did it with our 4-star, right? At the end of our first season, and he was all on board because he listens to every episode. I said, hey, sir, are you willing to take some risk and come on and do this? And he's like, absolutely, of course I will. And no pre-reads, no anything. So that way it's not talking points. Kind of to Chris's point, like, hey, you're not going to get the same thing that you get when he shows up to your base and does his normal.
It's not polished and rehearsed, and it's going to be from the heart, like it's going to be the truth.
Absolutely, authenticity.
Yeah, because you think, like before we came up here, we actually got that pleasure to go. Want to say thanks actually to Officer would be, I guess, New Jersey
Cruz,
New Jersey State Trooper Ray Cruz, because he took us and linked up with the New York Port Authority, and we had some special treatment down there to get to see 9/11 Memorial, and that's where that started. I know, Fred and I, because I was going nowhere fast, and that happened, and out of a loss of a lot of lives, I gained a life. This one, and that's a start point, not just for me as a young Ranger private, but also for that second lieutenant that now down the road are in that position, and moving into those that sergeant major role, that colonel role, and what comes next, that upper echelon leader, and you know exactly what polished, scripted. It's garbage.
Well, it's the same with why Barstool is successful. It's authentic and it's genuine, and it may not be pretty all the time. It's a little messy sometimes, but people know it's genuine, it's authentic, and people tune out the second they think it's not, and that's especially with lower enlisted.
Yeah,
they know exactly.
And the argument we have,
off.
like podcasting, is so powerful because if you thought about it, Kate, like in this current world, would you think that an hour or 3 hours would be something that, like, if podcast didn't exist, right? If you said, hey, I just want to do this 3-hour show or whatever, people would laugh you out of the building, right? Because everything now is like TikTok, right? It's like 15 seconds. Or Instagram, right?
Yeah.
But people crave authenticity, and they want to hear they want to hear someone's point of view. They want to hear a human connection.
Right.
And they want to hear the story behind the story. And so that's what's been our driving force is like, hey, I don't want to just talk about topics. I want to bring on incredible people and hear from them. And that's what really, the podcast that I listen to, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear just some news bite. I can get that anywhere.
Right.
I want to hear from the actual person who is involved, and it's a cool opportunity.
Yeah, and that's where you're seeing the grassroots effort, because that's why I go back to the command cares, because they have a podcast for it. They're letting guys come on there and talk about this stuff, because as well as I do, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting some different results. And we're talking about real things now with suicide, behavioral health, transition, and all those other factors. Guys are doing great things out there, but then there are those outlying issues. And our guys, like I was saying, those guys that came up and are now in that, they wanna help the dudes. And so the way I see it is kind of like, screw it, let's just try anything. And that's cool. I can dig that.
Yeah, you talking about authenticity. I got a lot of feedback from ours 2 weeks ago. We had 2 other Green Berets in a team room on Zoom with myself and the command senior enlisted leader, SOCOM. And it was about, out of an hour, it was probably about 45 minutes of a bitch session. Like, straight up, hey, this is what's going wrong. Like, these guys had just gone to Ukraine, had come back. They had gone to Afghanistan before that. Their team had been torn down. Like, everybody had been pulled, just like we've all had. Hey, people either leave or they're getting pulled to different assignments. Then they got put to this Ukrainian thing, and they went there, and they didn't feel like they had the right resources, all these things. And they were straight up about it, right? Straight from the team room. Hey, this is bullshit. This didn't work. This is what's not working, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people were very surprised that we released it pretty much uncut. And they were like, man, I can't believe SOCOM at the 4-star level is willing. It's like, no, that's what is authentic. Like, as we talk about transitioning from 20 years of the global war on terrorism into what we now are talking like great power competition and sort of how do we compete across the world and sort of, Cold War 2.0, so to speak, there's going to be some friction, right? And so we're not going to hide our heads and pretend it's like it's not happening. It is there, and we're trying to figure out how to crack the nut. And so, I just think podcasts like yours and like Chris's, authenticity is what really brings people in. Like, it's not polished, and that's okay.
I feel like the sitting around and bitching episodes would be the most popular ones. People listening in the smoke pit with their cigarettes. Absolutely.
Preach.
Yes. Right.
Exactly.
Spill that canteen. That's wonderful. It's so great to see innovation when, like you said, when the same things aren't working, trying something new, and it sounds like it's going wonderfully for both. I hate to do this to you. Our time's coming to a close. I noticed that you didn't. I have to make it weird. I noticed that SOFCAST didn't have a song.
Oh, man.
Didn't have a theme song.
We just got like a one guitar riff.
I can make it better.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is my idea of what Special Forces is, too.
It's probably circus
music. Are you going to serenade 2 Green Berets with a song?
I wrote you a song.
I love it.
I expect to hear this before every episode.
Okay. I'll talk to General Clark.
Because you cover all branches of Special Forces.
That's right.
Okay. Crashing through the waves to kick your ass. We're Special Forces on the rigid hull inflatable raft. Look out your window. We're scaling down your walls. Repelling terrorism. Grabbing bad guys by the balls. And lady parts. They can be bad too. NAVSOC, MARSOC, AFSOC 2. USA SOC rockin' socks off for the red, white, and blue. Humans over hardware day. Oppressor liber. The only group in service growing cool bear. What does this mean? Oh, Oppresso Liber. I had to switch it.
Yeah.
The only group in service growing cool beards and fun hair. So I feel like you guys get to do that stuff. So welcome to SOFCAST Podcast, Mike of the Spear, firing rounds of US SOCOM right into your ear. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Damn.
Yeah. I did a horrible Veterans Day freebies rap last week, and I was
the rhyming was on point though.
Until the end, the wheels fell off.
This is why you're at Barstool right there. Is that?
I don't know what that says about Barstool.
That's
but
we're super excited.
But you're
Thank you
welcome
guys
for that.
having us.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for the song.
I like that. Matter of fact,
thank you.
Can I just put a request in for your
I'll make one for you too.
Please.
Oh, please. It would be a treat.
That would be awesome.
I did my research. I know the truths. Humans are more important than hardware.
That is the
Quality is
foundation.
better than quantity.
Yeah.
Special operations forces cannot be mass produced.
Yeah.
Podcasting is the key. And you know you're onto something now when the Taliban starts a podcast.
Have they?
They might hear this and be like, we need to make sure
Okay.
our guys know thyself.
Yeah.
And they might get it. No, but
create my best Rambo. Go ahead, Taliban.
Go ahead and try.
Go ahead.
Anyway, that is SOFCAST and the Indigenous approach. Check out those podcasts, whether you served or not. It sounds like you can get some really valuable lessons out of it. Is there anything else that you guys want to say? Where can they find these podcasts? Where can people look it up and find you guys?
Yeah, for SOFCAST, you can find us at, most people are at Apple or Spotify. Those are our two biggest ones, but anywhere. If you Google SOFCAST, that you can find us anywhere. And then obviously you can find me on Instagram or any of those other places. We're thankful to Barstool for letting us come over, and thanks to Zero Blog 30.
Thank you so much for being
thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
And stay cool and have a great American Day.
Hell yeah. Yeah, those guys were so lovely. They came, toured him around the office, and it was just great catching up, hanging out. Not catching up, I didn't know him that well, but what am I talking about? It was great.
Just hanging out with the boys. We wrapped some Christmas gifts together. It was nice.
I don't know. It really was. You ever meet people and you feel like you kind of know them a little bit? I just had a really
honestly,
lovely
that's
time.
what this business is, I think. Like when we were sitting with Jack Murphy the other day, I think it's because so many veterans are so similar. Like there's so many joint stories that you have, or joint experiences that you can, even no matter if it's different branches of service, different MOSs or whatever, there's enough commiseration there that you feel like you know somebody a little bit more, like with that connection. Like, what they've been through, you've cleaned some dumb shit.
Yeah. They were just lovely, and it was fun talking to them. So thanks to them for coming up.
Yep. This is the round that I'm excited about. We're doing a little bit of Thanksgiving goof. And Kate, what do we got? I know you have an extravaganza.
What key has legs but can't open a door?
A turkey.
A turkey. How does musical artist Meghan Trainor prepare her turkey?
No clue.
Honey, she's all about that bass.
Okay.
Okay. What did the mother turkey say to her disobedient children? This one's dark.
What, Kate?
If your father could see you now, he'd roll over in his gravy. I mean, come on.
That's a good one.
Okay. I have a quiz for you guys.
I'm ready.
No scrolling. No peeking. Okay.
No peeking.
Name the first of all, how many days did the first Thanksgiving last?
3.
Yes, that's correct. Oh, sorry. If you snooze, you lose.
I felt like I thought I was going to say 3 too, but I felt like I had to give a guess.
It was 3 days. Name 4 meats that were served at the first Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
Oh, I bet you like a hen. No.
I'm gonna say a goose.
Yeah, that's
a goose.
Rabbit.
A goat or a sheep.
Nope.
Cow.
Nope.
Chicken.
Nope.
Duck.
Yes.
Buffalo.
No. A more beautiful duck. This one shocked me.
Mallard.
Swan.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
And
Swan.
Venison.
Oh.
So they had
the meat
deer, swan, duck, and goose.
Sounds phenomenal. I'd eat that.
Yeah, seriously. That sounds better than what we're doing these days.
I've never heard of anyone eating swan before in my whole life.
People stopped eating swan and geese primarily after your guy Ben Franklin was electrocuting them for the 4th of July.
Right. That's true. He did get really into it. He did.
He did.
Who was the first president to pardon a turkey?
Lincoln.
No. I'm gonna say it's more recent. I'm gonna say it was like Nixon.
No, John F. Kennedy.
Oh,
first one ever.
Wish somebody would have extended him the same courtesy.
There is a restaurant in the United States that claims
because today's the anniversary of his death.
Right.
Yes, true.
There is a restaurant in the United States that claims to have the world's most expensive Thanksgiving dinner. How much? It feeds 12. How much for this Thanksgiving dinner that feeds 12?
$50,000.
I'm going to say 10,000.
$150,000 at New York City's Old Homestead Steakhouse. The expensive meal feeds 12, and it is made with the finest ingredients, including a 25-pound free-range turkey basted in imported olive oil.
25-pound turkey?
And it's covered in edible gold, bread, and pork stuffing made with $475 per pound pork from Japan and served with gravy infused with a $3,300 Pappy Van Winkle bottle of bourbon.
Wow.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know how they even do that. Like they must have to just absolutely brine and inject the shit out of it because that would dry out big time.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something to think about. I don't know.
Mhm.
People do this meal every year. It's like a thing that people actually, the previous year
Probably
they
Stu
did.
Finer.
Probably Stu. Yeah. They had like an $80,000 one and then they wanted to go for the 150. So I don't know. Is your poop gold if you're eating gold flakes? I'm
I don't
sure.
think so.
Yeah. Why
I don't
not?
think so. Maybe
I would
gold
hope
lined
so.
at best.
The only reason I would eat something covered in gold would be to see that.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, question. Black Friday is the biggest day of the year for what trade profession? You know what I mean when I say trade profession?
Mhm.
Yeah, plumbers.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because people are
Everybody
dropping big dumps.
Big old poop. People don't have the poop knife. Lest we bring back the poop knife
Lest we forget.
conversation. You need a family poop knife after that day. On average, how many people attend the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade every year?
Oh, I'll say 25,000.
I'm going to say 150,000.
3.5 million.
What?
3.5 million. Now, on
Oh
an
my
average,
God.
on an average work day in New York City, it's not unusual for over 8 million people to come in and out of the city on a given day. So 3.5 million is not that crazy. How many people participate in the parade?
That's probably closer to 10,000.
Yeah, I'd say 10,000.
8,000.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah.
That was a good
And
guess.
final question, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, how much does the heaviest turkey on record weigh?
Oh, I'm going to say
37
65 pounds.
86 pounds.
Fucking shit. That's a turkey, man. God
86 pounds.
damn. What? How do you even cook that bad boy?
How do you even kill that thing?
That could kill you.
If you had to kill it with your bare hands, there's a chance that could kill you for sure.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I don't know. I think I could take a 90-pound turkey. What's it got? It doesn't have any weapons.
It has very sharp claws, talons, some would say.
Does it?
Yes, right?
Yeah, but I feel like that thing's not agile. You get right behind it, snap its neck, forget it. Curtains.
Oh, yeah. And it's got that big old butterball gut. Like you kick
Yeah.
it right in the fucking liver and the giblets.
No, they're stronger than you think, man. I don't know. I hope you run it. Every year they terrorize people. The cops get called in towns where turkeys are being shitty to people. It's true.
Gobbling up the joint. I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Let's do a little top list. Okay. Somebody just eat this. In order for this game, you're done with Thanksgiving. I'm talking about you've had 2 helpings of turkey, 2 of sweet potato casserole, 2 mashed potatoes. You've had some bread. You've had dessert. You've had everything. And you're sitting back and you're drinking an iced tea. And you have to go tickle somebody.
This is so ridiculous.
3 people.
This is so ridiculous.
Who's the last 3 people on Earth you would want to tickle?
So on Earth, not just like that would be on our
Earth.
home.
Yeah.
Can I tell you who just popped into my mind when you asked
Yes.
it? The immediate first image of and they're very sweaty and hair and beard overgrown at this time, and they're
Is it
wearing
me?
they're wearing a thick wool. But you're the second one.
Yeah.
They're wearing a thick wool sweater and corduroy pants, and they are sitting on an old like musty grandma couch. Mel Gibson.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Mel Gibson's probably doesn't have much to be thankful for, honestly. He's
Yeah.
probably not even eating it.
True.
The thought of it makes me want to throw up my mouth a little bit. It just popped. The first thing that popped in my
Mel
mind.
Gibson, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Interesting. Cons?
Man, this is a tough question. You know what? Who came to mind? Santa Claus. I don't want to upset him going into his big holiday.
Oh, he'd be happy. I think
No.
Santa wouldn't mind it at all.
No, I think he's, gearing up for his big month and
Stressed.
yeah, he's
Stress
stressed. Yeah, he would get mad and the next thing you know, I got coal on Christmas Day. I can't have that.
I've kind of been intimidated by Santa ever since Nightmare Before Christmas when he was kind of a dickhead. Like he wasn't mean, but he's kind of strict. And I was like, I'm scared
Santa's
of
kind
that
of a
guy.
dick anyways.
I guess he has to be, but
Why would
Like
you
we
say
don't
that?
know what these kids are going through. Like you're looking at kids, you're going to put them on a naughty list because their parents aren't involved in their lives as much as they should be and they're struggling. So now they have to get coal. That's bullshit.
I got a Scoot-Dazzle.
And why does
instead of
Santa
a Razor
continuously
scooter.
give rich people gifts to the rich kids and the poor kids get poor gifts?
Yeah.
How about a poor kid get a PlayStation 5, Santa?
Thank
All right.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of that woolly magnet thing that they have at Cracker Barrel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's all he ever gives those poor kids. My first one would be Amy from 1,000 Pound Sisters because she farts. She's a farter.
She does.
She absolutely rips haters.
New season out now.
Yeah, true. Nick.
I think I'd go with, Mick Foley, You guys he just seems like
as Mankind or as Cactus Jack.
Oh, probably as Mankind. I mean, he's in the basement with the mask on, and he's just shoveling food to his mouth, and he's got the rat, and he's shoving socks in your mouth. Yeah, he just seems like a dirty eater, and I think I wouldn't want to tickle him. Okay, Kate, who's your second person?
Oh, chaps, you. That's you for sure. Again, the thought of you eating swan.
I don't know what Kate and I have such a nice relationship, and then if it's about me eating, she gets so grossed out. I'm not a gross. Cons, we've eaten plenty of times together. I don't have bad table manners.
No, you don't at all. Although I will say right now, your beard's looking a little big and bushy, so I could just see that affecting it.
Gray.
Those are real goosebumps across because
venison.
Again,
the venison sweats. Eating so much venison sausage.
I think it's because chaps would still enjoy being tickled and having.
No, I hate being tickled.
No, but you would like everyone to bask in the ambience.
No, I see. I wouldn't want to be tickled.
Really?
I even said it the other day on Twitter that I feel like I'm at the age where I'll never be tickled ever again. Because my kids know that I'm not ticklish. I don't think I'm going to be tickled. Tickled to laughter. Maybe somebody will do it. They'll hear me talking about it. But without acknowledging it, I'm at the age where I'll never be tickled again. It's like that old adage that one day your kid gets to this size, you'll never pick them up again. One time you pick them up, it'll be the last time you pick them up.
Wow, that's pretty morbid. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks.
Think about that when you go get cash today.
I will.
And Gio.
Jesus.
And Super Nona.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
She might break if I pick her up.
Yeah, she was good. I was thinking about making Super Nona one of my last ones that I would want to pick up.
She probably wouldn't even feel it. She'd probably just stare at you and be like, "Que dice?"
I also would never want to tickle Dave Portnoy. I feel like he would be very mean about it if you tried to tickle him.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you would hear about it forever. So Dave's on the list. So far I got Amy from 1,000 Pound Sisters and Dave Portnoy.
I think if some crazy contract from the sky fell and it was like, you must go into Dave's office and tickle him right now, I would just get in my car, pack up the family and be like, well, I had a good run. I'm out of here. I guess I'm done. I can't do it. Yeah. I'm not doing it.
Cons?
Steve Bannon. He just seems so gross.
That's a good one.
Great answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks greasy as fuck.
Yeah. And you know what? Just somebody I don't want to spend time with. So God forbid I'd have to go tickle him.
Yeah. All right, Nick.
I think I'm going to go on the Barstool train too. I'm going to add Brandon Walker.
Oh, yeah. That's
to the list. He eats.
I don't know. I think that could be kind of funny.
He eats Chick-fil-A twice a day. I think there could be some residual.
Oh, yeah.
Residual
poop.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you know
he's
what?
He's a big dude.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm just going to jump the line here and give my third. Sticking with Barstool. I would not want to tickle Big Cat because who knows? Who knows how that would end up with?
I just go either way. Could go either way.
But I picture Dan just having a steady stream of food all day. Like he doesn't sit and have a meal. He's just watching football, eating all day. And I just think that would not end well just because the sheer amount of food he would consume. And coffee.
Coffee too.
Yeah. Sorry,
all right,
Dan.
Kate, who's your last one?
This is very niche. There's a very famous stolen valor photo that we always have the top at our ZBT sheet. It's a man with a little mustache and he's got super fake medals all over him, but he's a larger guy and he just looks like he would explode if you tickled him. And I feel like after Thanksgiving meal specifically, so stolen valor guy.
Who is it?
He's just some random dude. I always have him at the top of our sheet every day, every time we do the show. He's just this plump little.
My entire microphone stand just collapsed I caught it and I'm improvised, adapting, and overcoming. My last one that I'm going to pick is Post Malone. Nothing that comes out of his mouth.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
He just has to absolutely reek. Is that it? Did we go through 4? Or did we get everybody's?
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right, let's move into safe rounds and alibis, which is good timing because I'm holding my microphone up. And that is going to be presented to you by our good friends at Rocky Boots. We already talked about them a little bit, but Rocky Boots is the best boots in the biz. And I just wore them for the first time the other day. They have some overalls that are thick, like the Carhartt type of material. You know what I mean? Like the super thick khaki. They have that with a little bit of padding inside to keep you warm in the wintertime.
Ooh.
Absolutely delightful.
Hell
if I was a
yeah.
hunter, if I was out hunting, I'd be wearing them things all the time. Make sure that you go get it right now when they're 25% off at rockyboots.com into the promo code ZBT at checkout for 25% off your next pair of boots. They have boots if you're in the military, if you're a first responder, if you do construction stuff, if you just like to go hunting, hiking, and all, anything you could possibly use boots for, they have it. Go to rockyboots.com into the promo code ZBT at checkout for 25% off your next pair of boots, not boots.
Boots and boots.
All right, let's do some save rounds and alibis. Nick, we'll start with you.
Yeah, two quick things that were mentioned in the show. So you guys were talking about what drink or food gets you in the mood for the holiday season. We do a Moscow Mule, but we crush candy canes at the bottom of it.
Oh, nice.
And so we do that. And then, so when we break those out, then it's like, okay, we're going to have one of these, per night for the foreseeable future. And then as far as turkeys are concerned, my in-laws, just fun fact about me, they never had turkey at Thanksgiving. They didn't do it. And the only reason they have it now is because I'm part of the family. So they cook the turkey specifically because the American is arriving.
Oh, it's good to know they like you.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I know.
Doing a little bit of melting pot over in the Nick household. Love that.
Yeah. I love it.
All right, Kate.
For me, first thing, over the weekend, Laughlin Air Force Base, there was an incident involving 2 T-38C jets, and Second Lieutenant Anthony Wentz, age 23, lost his life. Thinking of everybody involved with that. Some other incidents happening right now, but I just, again, thankful for everybody in the military right now who's putting it all on the line. Training is so dangerous and can be really difficult, and I'm just so, maybe we're Afghanistan is over and blah, blah, but there's still so much going on and still so many people putting their lives on the line. And I am forever thankful to every single one of you. And thanks to you guys for being so wonderful. Help me out throughout the year. I just am really thankful for each and every one of you. And that's it for me.
All right. That was lovely. Cons?
Yeah. I would just like to echo Kate's sentiment. I'm thankful for all of our listeners and folks who reach out to us and give input. And I'm certainly thankful for all of our military members, especially those who won't be able to share Thanksgiving with their family this year. You are not forgotten about. And then I think we're going to introduce a new little segment called the Officer's Corner that Chaps has asked me to start doing. So I'll start with a simple one, because I was unpacking some clothes the other day and I was looking at my shoe trees, and it's so important when you buy dress shoes.
We're not just going to skip over the fact that you have fucking shoe trees. Like just as one does.
Here's why. And you can't just throw your shoes in your closet. If you're going to, spend some money on some nicer dress shoes,
especially when you're getting 25% off with the promo code Rocky Boots.
Boom.
CBT.
When you want to make those puppies last longer, you got to get some cedar shoe trees. So spend the $15 to $20 to get the shoe trees to elongate the life of your dress shoes. I promise you, it is worth it.
Now, what if you don't have dress shoes?
Well, then just please skip the last 40 seconds of me talking and ignore everything I said.
I like that.
Yeah.
That should be a soundbite, honestly. Mine is I am super happy with my beloved Roadrunners 11-0.
Yeah.
We got to play North Texas. We got to play North Texas on Saturday, and then we'll have the Conference USA Championship game here in San Antonio. I'm super excited. Honest to God, when I was watching that game, I thought this, for a single game, regular season single game, might be the most excited I've ever been in any regular season sports game in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, you said it in our little group chat. Isn't it a lot of fun when you have a college team that you can really get behind as opposed to a pro team?
Yeah, I'd like the pro team too. And don't get me, if the Jags won the Super Bowl, that's like my penultimate. Like, that's my number one desire in sports, is the Jags to win a Super Bowl. but having a team that's actually doing well and making it fun, that is a smaller team that not a whole lot of people care about, makes it great. I'm excited to see how that goes. We'll be back, not be back on Friday. We'll be back on Tuesday. Enjoy the long episode. And well, I guess you're done fucking listening to it now. I probably should have said at the beginning. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving break, or enjoy your families, or whatever the fuck you're doing. Enjoy sitting in your apartment by yourself if that's what you're doing too. Make sure that your Netflix shows are good. I've done many a Thanksgiving alone, and it's not that bad. Order some food, chill, just watch some football, and booze yourself up. Love it. I don't know if that's good advice or not. Well, we'll see you back here next Tuesday. Southern Retreat.